Hi everyone, my name is Victoria Nergaard and I'm a graduate of the Parsons Paris Fashion Studies program from 2020. And I'm here today with fellow graduate and colleague Nicolette Contursi at her shop Laser Sheaves. So Nicolette, can you tell us a bit about Laser Sheaves?
Of course. So Laser Sheaves is a contemporary vintage archive dedicated to fashion's greatest. I started at the 1970s and worked my way up to the early 2000s, sourcing pieces that have truly withstood the test of time. I try to pick up relevant pieces that are currently on trend and hold a lot of value in the consumer market.
So we're here today in your boutique. Can you share with us the story as to how you got here?
Of course. So my obsession with vintage began at a very young age, and it's kind of followed me throughout life. When I was studying fashion studies at Parsons Paris, Marco, our program director, had introduced me to Jill Linton, the owner of Byronesque, and I immediately became obsessed with everything that she did. Byronesque is a contemporary vintage brand, and they have an immaculate collection of very rare items, and so I started interning with her for about a year and just delved right into that world. I ended up writing my thesis on the value of vintage and the different spaces that designer vintage is sold. And through that whole process, I, again, was obsessed. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I studied all the shows and studied all the old designers that were so iconic at the time and now. And I was trying to think of how I could make that a career for myself, but of course, being a new graduate, I had to find a job. So I ended up working in fashion merchandising for about a year and trying to get more experience in the industry and decide if this is really what I wanted to do. I was not obsessed with fashion merchandising, so from there, I put that on hold and tried to think of a full-time job for this vintage obsession, and that's kind of when the idea of Laser Sheaves was born. I started my digital presence of the brand by using Instagram and sharing inspiring runway shows and photographs, and then from there it kind of grew. I started collecting pieces from iconic collections and just kind of getting myself known in that community. And then again, had to start looking for a job, so I went into fashion production, which was great, but my favorite part of that job was the day of the fashion show. So again, from there, I reevaluated my life and figured out how I could grow this idea of Laser Sheaves that I had built about a year prior. And I decided to build a physical boutique. I think that it's so important to see vintage pieces in real life, and that was always at the heart of the project. So flash forward to 2024, I opened up this beautiful space in January, and I think it's exactly what I intended it to be about 2 years ago, and that's kind of how we got here.
Tell us how Parsons Paris prepared you to create your own business.
When I look back at my journey at Parsons, I feel like I always think about one thing, and it's how lucky we were to have such a diversified coursework and to have all these different profs that have such a diverse background in fashion. So for me, being able to work hands-on in so many different spaces, whether that be in publications or in fashion archiving or in fashion history, it was that all added to, I feel like, my own personal resume and helped me kind of hone in on what I wanted to do long term. Particularly, how did it help me start my business? I'd like to think that it gave me a lot of ideas as to what's out there in the fashion industry. I really got a lot out of our fashion archiving courses that we worked on with Musée Galliera and Laurent Cotta. That was an amazing opportunity to kind of peek into this world that not a lot of people get to see, and has helped me honestly how I store my garments and how I kind of curate my collection. I learned a lot in that class. And then again, touching on my internship that I was able to get thanks to Marco at Byronesque. That was a huge help in deciding what I wanted to do and deciding what I was good at. So yeah, I'd say my internship, and also having the opportunity to really pick our own thesis topics and and be able to study whatever we really wanted to.
And so our final question is, what is your most important piece of advice for current Parsons Paris students who are looking to start their own business?
I think I would definitely say don't be afraid to get started. These things take a lot of time and hard work, but if you just keep trying, keep persevering, and put your dreams out there, they will work out. I know that this little project of mine started probably like 6 years ago in my head, and it's come a long way, but now that it's physically here, I couldn't be more happy. So don't give up on your dreams.
Thank you so much. And I always say that when I first met you in our first week at Parsons Paris, you told me that your dream was to have your own vintage store, and here we are 6 years later. And so I'm so proud of you, and it's amazing to see it come true after all this time. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you so much for your time today.